My name is Michael Goy, and I'm the Executive IT Director for USC Viterbi School of Engineering. Thanks for joining today's webinar. Just to remind everybody, if you have any question, please use the chat windows to post your questions. And today I would like to share with you our desktop virtualization strategies, and part of today's webinars play into that, given that NVIDIA and VMware Horizon View are very important components in our directions in part of our strategies executions. So let me go on to give you an overview of who we are, what we do, and share with you some of the problems that we face with and opportunities that present to us. Solution we developed with use in the physical computing classroom and also virtual computing. So, and the directions that we're going to be taking going forward. Now, so as far as our environment, at Viterbi School of Engineering, we have nearly about 6,600 students, undergrad and graduate students, and we also have a cohort of about 1,500 non-engineering students taking engineering type of classes. So in overall, we have about 8,000 some students taking our classes. Our faculty size is about 200 and some, plus those are the teaching and the tenure track, and some of those 51 or so research faculties. Over the past several years, we've been seeing growth in terms of our master's students, and so our student populations continue to grow. That also put some strains in terms of computing classrooms and whatnot. So since our engineering school has been teaching with a lot of applications, and we currently have about 24 computer classroom and several numerous research labs. That research lab could come from the form of chemical, wet labs, dry labs, and workshops and different kind of things. And out of those 24 computer classrooms, we are looking at nearly 800 plus desktop laptops for instructional support. We are faced with dealing with 200 plus instructional software applications that we need to support. And increasingly, our students are coming in with their own laptops and demands that they want to have access of software anywhere, anytime. So that's important that in order to support that, the university or the institutions need to have a very robust Wi-Fi networks to be around. How we support this whole enterprise is we have 16 full-time IT staff, and we have, I won't consider an army, but 30 plus student workers. The important part of this is in order for us to execute and support the institutions, we do have a very strong support from the university CIO, that's the university, not necessarily the Viterbi School of Engineering, and then we have the administrations of the school and faculty and staff support. So here are our problems. I think in the areas of instructional computing, local installs of application in lab and student BYOD is a challenge because you're dealing with many apps to be installed and deployed. Student software license administrations is also a challenge when you distribute software to be installed on personally owned device. You're going to face challenge with sunsetting the software license and whatnot. And if we do a so-called floating license model, that will, you were talking about BYOD may compete with classroom machines calling up the floating license. So that is also a challenge going with that. Now, some software then, on the other hand, run well in Windows 7, not in Windows 8.1, and so we have specific OS requirements challenges as well. BYOD users has a machine of different shape or form. Some are more modern than the others. So some software will run well in the modern machines, and of course it will struggle in the older machines. So, and we have distant learners, and that is something that Josh talked about, and this is something that we are seeing growth in that areas, and those people need to be supported and have access to instructional software. In our computing labs that we run, out of 24 computing classrooms, we are seeing drive their image bloats over time, and so some apps also do not coexist well with others, so we have conflicts. So we face in the past many years of doing instructional computing the issue of whether we want to install software, or there's something called the concept of streaming the desktop or the application, and lastly is presenting that to endpoint device. Presenting this is what we are talking today, shortly afterwards on the VDIs and technologies. So in our instructional computing classrooms, physical, where possible, we try to stream Windows OS desktops to lab machines. When we talk about streaming, what it means is that the applications and the desktop, all of that is actually executing on the endpoint device in the instructional computing classroom itself. We're doing that primarily because in many years ago when we started doing that in 2008, VDI, 3D rendering, and vGPU was just not there. So this is the only approach that we can do at that point really, is to have a central image that can be streamed to hundreds of machines, and so those machines will be able to execute that locally and use the local computing device resources, whether they have the graphic cards, discrete graphic cards, memory, CPU, and whatnot, to be able to execute the program. Now, what benefits us on this? Clearly, it is a management for IT. Now, we can also rapidly deploy applications very quick. In this case, software could be mounted and distributed to to be streamed to hundreds of machines within hours. Make use of our local compute resources I mentioned a while back. And more importantly is the flexibility to upgrade components when necessary. So, and when we do streaming, endpoint device will run, end user could run as admin rights, because of some applications was not well behaved or programmed in some manner. It required admin rights to run. In this case, we allowed students to use the computers and run an admin rights. And upon their log off, when they log off, the machine, the OS itself will revert back to the pristine stage. So what was the problem with this approach? LAN-only type of solution, local area network, because streaming will require at least 100 megabit per second type of a line, Ethernet lines to get at it. So our future plan with what's made available by NVIDIA and VMware's Horizon View, we are seeing that VDI is the approach for us to go forward with that. Now, so we'll gradually reduce our reliance on the physical lab computers and increase support of desktop virtualization for BYOD or for this kind of devices. Next, I will talk to you about our current desktop virtualization infrastructures. Our history with VMware we started using vSphere's hypervisor back in 2008, and Horizon View about a year and a half ago. We are currently running vSphere 5.5 and Horizon View 6.01. Now, our infrastructures are basically the back end running Dell Equalogix hybrid array. We have it's supported with 10 gig switches for iSCSI, and we also make use of storage acceleration products like Pernix Data. And very important, and as for anybody who's about to experiments or to consider VDI, do make use of products like LiquidWare Labs Stratosphere UX, because it does give us the user experience monitoring and diagnostic solutions, because we are able to see when someone say, I have problem, my login time is longer than 6 seconds, 20 seconds or whatnot, and the specific application takes 20 seconds to launch. All of those, we have the ability to look into it and see what's the issue with the VDI, a specific VM. So LiquidWare Labs Stratosphere UX is give us the lens to look into that. And of course, we do not want to have antivirus to be on individual VDIs. So having the Trend Micro's deep security antivirus is very helpful to install it in the hypervisor level. In our environments, As opposed to, I'm not sure some of your institutions where you folks are a central IT at the university level, we are actually at the school engineering. So single sign-on for our students, where it's very important for us to be able to scale our solution. So our students at this point in time will authenticate using the university central IT login. We then authorize them and account for their access. That means we keep track of their usage. So we do the authorizations and accounting. University does the authentications. So where we come into play right here as I would say added value is we make use of window roaming user profile and for the redirection for unified desktop experience. So our students, when they go to the physical classroom or they remote in connecting to the VDI, they have a same desktop user experience that they have. Their files stay with them, and anything they save on the desktop will just follow them. Our current VDI environment is has primarily eight Dell servers, and this the configuration is posted right there in the PowerPoint slides. And at this point, we separated our VDI infrastructure into two pools of VDIs. One will be medium graphics to support medium graphic intensive applications. The others will be the high graphics intensive applications. So essentially, we have two pools, 4 servers for each pool, and the hardware configuration go with that. So you can see the medium graphic, we intend to support up to about 48 users, and we put in 2 terareaches PCOIP to offload PCOIP processings. So when we have more users, that will help the user experience on that. And that medium graphic intensive app, we have 2 K2 cards in each server, and each server is running on the VSGA, which is the shared mode that, as Matt mentioned in the chart that when he showed you in his NVIDIA power slide just now. It supports right now at this point 48 users per server. High-end graphic. Now, at this point we're using K1 cards, and it is running on VDGA, which is virtual dedicated graphic acceleration mode. It is considered as a GPU pass-through. And that we came about doing that because vGPU support on vSphere 6 hasn't come around yet when we did this, when we set this infrastructure up. So we are very much excited the fact that the vGPUs support on Visual 6 is make possible for us for next step. So let me dive deep into our medium graphic intensity VDI. It is running, and let me repeat that, is VSGA, support 48 users per server. And each VDI, we assign that type of configuration, 8 gig of RAM to vCPU, and roughly about 340 megabyte of RAM for video buffer. And on that, with 4 servers, we are able to support about 192 VDI. And the type of application we can support on that is posted right there. These are all the applications that at this point in time really can be supported because they do not have these graphic APIs requirement that higher than DirectX 9.0 and OpenGL 2.1. So anything that can be supported with that kind of API graphic requirement, it can be supported in that type of configurations. MATLAB, even 2015A, and all the various different kind of software there. Next is when it comes to high graphic intensity VDI, because we are running pass-through, the vGPU pass-through, we support at this point in time, each server support 8 users. And we are seeing with 4 servers, we have 32 VDIs that we can support. And type of application to go with that, there's where the CATIA, SolidWorks, Siemens products, the Solid Edge, and various others that mentioned right there. Autodesk Maya, which is in the entertainment graphic type of 3D rendering, that's also supported well on that. And with that, I'm going to go talk about vGPU supported Visual 6 and Horizon View 6.1. Horizon View 6.1, that's a game changer to us because clearly with that capabilities of vGPU support, we are beginning to see in the high graphic intensity apps, we can push now double our user density. That's been key. And doing that with us sharing GPU without sacrificing our application compatibility, I think that is a big gain for us. So the configuration we plan going forward at this point in time is for the high graphic intensity app, we'll be doing the called grade K240Q profile. If you refer back the power, I'm not sure. It's Matt. Are you there? Sorry.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Would you be sharing your video, your NVIDIA slide to the audience?
Yes, I will. I can do that. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. If you do, that is the profile information that someone will probably want to refer to. And so, as of right now, high graphic intensity apps, the pool of VDI, we intend to use vGPU, run in vGPU mode with that great profile. We will support 16 users on existing the same hardware. All right, so that is the configuration we're seeing. And the medium graphic, we have a choice of either we want to stay with SVGA or we go to vGPU and upgrade that to K2 cards, and then for that set of servers and run grid K220 is a Q profile. That will support 32 users. So what our next steps are at this point is we intend to continue to expand our VDI deployment with the acquisition of more hardware, more servers, and we'll continue to add in more applications. And clearly, when we do expand our resources, is to extend access to more students and classes. Our target yields in terms of how many concurrent users we want to support in the coming academic year is 96 concurrent users. And for the high graphics intensive apps, and 480 for concurrent users for the medium graphics. Now look at it this way: that 96, if we translate to a typical classroom, computer classroom, or 30-some machines, and that will give us 3 virtual classrooms right there. The point here is our virtual classroom in this case is students can get at it anywhere, anytime. So we'll continue to evaluate any kind of technology for next phase that will support next phase, which is going into desktop replacement for faculty and staff, and more BYOD support. And since VDI, when we do VDI deployments, applications are all pressed into a desktop on an OS. So over time, we'll see that image, the OS image of desktop will get bloated as well, and there's also stand a chance of application conflict. So we are also looking into overlay virtualized app via VMware Team apps as to kind of supplement that. Moving along. As far as our next step, we're also looking at user entitlement management, and that is very, very important for us, given that the number of VDIs we have or VMs are somewhat limited in some way, and so we must have the abilities to manage, prioritize users and access of those VDIs, particularly on the high graphic VDIs pool. Application right management, those are the future things we're looking at once we do go to desktop replacement use case. We need to have the abilities to manage user previous elevations and whatnot, the user admin rights to the machines, to the VDI. And lastly is the VDI desktop image management. Once we go into area of desktop replacements use case, those VDIs will be persistent VDI, and in that case, the image management of OS and applications will be critical so that we'll keep our storage use to minimal as best possible. So Universal software is one that we're actually evaluating at this point in time. So back to this, just to recap, some of those are well known, offer in terms of benefits. Clearly, offer mobility for students anywhere, anytime computing. That's important. Number one. And I think there's a few of those benefits is that clearly students can continue to use their own hardware, their own personal computers. They can do anything with their own machine, yet they can have remote access to instructional software. Now, what we're seeing also that students, clouding become a choice because that's important. Students work these days do not work alone. They often work in the group setting, and they come together. All of that in the classroom or our computing centers is more for the fact that they want to work together, not because they have to wait for availability of physical lab machines. Improving data security, that is clear. Everything resides in the data center, so students do not have to use flash drives to transport the data set. Now, our faculty love very much in terms of the fact that this VDI, our department is able to free them to focus on teachings because they do not have to support students with installing software on their own device. And our administration will appreciate the fact that classroom they get some form of classroom relief because classes could that teach with software can go to anywhere. Even our general assignments classroom where there's no computer because students can bring their own laptop. So with that, I conclude my presentations and my story to tell. So if any questions, then let's take out from here.
So there are a couple of questions in the chat window. I'm going to read them off one by one as I come to them.
Okay.
The first question is from a David, and it says, how does the VMware vGPU solution differ from what Microsoft is doing with Hyper-V Remote FX hardware acceleration?
Steve, maybe I can start with that, and then maybe if Ismet has anything to add to it, he's welcome to. So when you look at Microsoft's strategy around this technology, Remote FX is pretty solid for what it does. If you meet the requirements and it all makes sense to you, it actually can perform pretty well. The challenge with Remote FX is that it's got some very, very specific requirements. It only works for LAN-connected devices. So when we talk about things like remote access, long-distance users, WAN access, personal devices, things like that, it's simply not an option. It's such a very, very heavy, bandwidth-intensive protocol that it really it just isn't a good fit for anything but a very beefy, healthy LAN connection. It is extremely limited from the operating system versions that are supported. There are, of course, it only supports Hyper-V. vSphere has the vast majority of the market. Nearly all of our customers that we talk to are standardized on vSphere, continue to plan for implementing on that. And of course, Microsoft's solution is very Microsoft-centric. It sort of forces you down the path of specific desktop versions only on Hyper-V, et cetera, using their protocol. So they're really, from just the basic VDI and hardware accelerated 3D graphics, there are certainly some limitations. But I think, honestly, the even bigger reason to choose a VMware solution is our much broader strategy and vision. When you talk about things like the end user portal, the single sign-on capabilities, the ability to seamlessly deliver apps and desktop and SaaS apps and virtualized applications, all these things together in a cohesive solution, we can literally sell you everything that we talked about in a single SKU to adopt all of those use cases, where Microsoft is sort of developing these one-off niche type things, trying to compete with VMware and frankly even with Citrix in this space. So, again, there's some good points to it, but honestly, I don't run into Microsoft almost ever in competing with technologies like this.
Okay. This next question is probably directed to Mike, and it says, I would love to understand how you ran the POC and did you do any cost analysis, not just purchase cost, but ongoing savings, ROI, etc.
Absolutely. When it comes to cost, when I do a POC, number one really is we want to assess what kind of application will run well in the space. Now, the benefits clearly in this case is the intangible part of things, is anywhere, anytime. And the cost, we quite often look at the cap expense and the operating expense, right? So OpEx and CapEx. CapEx we're looking at this point easily is if you were to put in a physical hardware, it was going to cost you, and with VDI, we are looking about 1.8 to about 2x the amount of, for VDI solution is 2x of the, we were just going to buy a new hardware for desktop. All right, so what does it mean? That's cap expense. Operating expense over time, based on what we're seeing, we actually will see that the saving coming from administration, overhead reduction, and all that. We will see actually a saving over time to bring down the overall, dilute the cap expense overall. Overall expense, if you look at op expense and cap expense, we will see a yielding of saving.
All right. And then another question. If you're planning for all non-persistent desktop deployment, can we avoid having to blot our costs by adding Liquidware, AppSense, and other products? It's a question. And only use the suite of products that Horizon Suite provides?
So I would say that we're finally at a point where we can start to do that. So what the question is referring to is we have a very strong ecosystem, a lot of partners that have developed solutions that augment and help drive our technologies into new use cases. And while we certainly continue to support those partners and work with those solutions, our portfolio is maturing significantly. Just in the last 6 months or so, we've done 2 new acquisitions of very, very cutting-edge technologies. One was a Cloud Volumes acquisition, which has now become App Volumes, and the other is a very recent acquisition of a technology called NVIDIA, which is getting ready to be re-released here very soon. And so those technologies combined can very much drive a truly persistent user experience while delivering non-persistent economics. So linked clones, discard, refresh on log off, very much a brand new clean OS every single time, while providing dynamically the exact set of applications and the user's persona at the moment that they log in. So I would say that the short answer to that question is very much yes with the Horizon Enterprise Suite.
Next question. Can we now use BLAST with NVIDIA vGPUs? That's the question. And then this will reduce our costs on planning the deployment where we do not have to use Teradici-based chipset, thin client hardware, and use Chromebooks.
Josh, I'm not sure of the answer.
Okay. So I can comment a little bit on it. So when you say BLAST, it's kind of a generic marketing term, but I think the question is specifically asking about HTML5 access, client-less access to view. And the short answer is yes, you can use that. However, it may or may not be ideal. So our PC over IP protocol is very high fidelity, it's tunable, it's dynamic and adaptive. It learns what's needed and delivers the level of performance that's required. And so in many cases, PC over IP, when you're talking about very graphics intensive type use cases, is going to give you a better experience. Now, you mentioned Chromebooks specifically. We were on stage with, had Google on stage with us at VMworld last year talking about our partnership, and we're bringing some very exciting new technology to the latest generation of Chromebooks that actually have NVIDIA components in the Chromebooks themselves that are able to take advantage of vGPU specifically in Horizon. And so we can essentially create a direct tunnel between the NVIDIA hardware in the Chromebooks and the NVIDIA hardware in our data centers and now we can do extremely high-end graphics capabilities over that. How that will play with Blast and PC over IP and all those things has yet to be hashed out, but I would say that we're definitely driving toward that direction.
So that was the last technical question I have in the chat window. We're running long by about 5 minutes, it looks like. There is one more question, but it has more to do with signing up TriGrid, and it said it didn't accept my mobile phone number. Does anybody on the line have a solution for that? This is to sign up for the VMware TriGrid link. If not, I will get back to this customer after the call. And then the other question was, I think I'm already in the direct access group. Do I need to reapply? Again, I'll get back to this customer after this call.
Okay.
So that was the last technical question in the chat window.
Okay. Well, I appreciate everyone's time today. Mike, a special thanks to you for jumping on today and sharing your experience. I know that was probably really helpful for everybody, me included. We will be following up with everybody directly to see if you guys have any questions or feedback. And again, you will receive an email with some links to, direct access, TriGrid, as well as a link to the recording. So thanks again for everyone's time, and I hope that you guys have a great afternoon.